So will your video be out by the time this is released?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Mm-hmm. All right, ready?
And break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Painted Arrow Podcast. Why are you smiling at me like that?
I smile a lot, buddy.
We have a good story for you today. We have Travis Osborne, a.k.a. Media Trav, to my left. And straight ahead, we have the one and only Devin Cole.
Thank you.
Pregnant pause.
We got a buck story for you today. One of those ones that.
One of those ones.
One of those ones.
It's that time of year. We got
one of those ones, or one of those ones.
One of those ones.
Yeah.
So there's a video that goes with this, and by the time that this podcast is live, the video will also be live on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So as you're sitting here listening to us discuss this, just know that you can go to Painted Arrow YouTube page at Painted Arrow and
at Painted Arrow Outdoors.
Yep.
That's our
I think
YouTube.
we changed it.
Did we get rid of the other one? There was another one that was holding.
Well, there's two, but it's Painted Arrow.
Painted Arrow. You can find us there.
You can search either. You're going to find it.
If you
just
literally
Painted Arrow,
search in Google Painted Arrow,
you'll find it.
you will find
You
this.
will find it.
And
If you can't
actual
find it at that
handle-
point, then you probably don't deserve to find it.
Yeah, the actual handle might be Painted Arrow Outdoors,
That's
but
what I think.
the channel name is Painted
Oh,
Arrow.
yes. No, I agree with that. Yeah. We're all on the same page.
It matters, people.
It does.
Yeah.
So that being said, want to just say like this will be after Thanksgiving. So if you're listening, I really do from the bottom of my heart hope you had a really relaxing, hunting filled Thanksgiving, couple of days of a break. It's one of those times of year that it's would you guys agree it seems like one of the more mellow holidays where it's like everybody eats, it's like everybody's happy somewhat. For some people, I know it's stressful when you get together with family and maybe you're in a different situation, but overall it's a very good time of year.
Pretty laid back. Usually.
I feel really good about it. Yeah.
Overlays
There's not
with
the
the honey.
stress of even like the gift giving side of like Christmas.
Yeah.
It just is really like, hey, you're just there to eat some good food.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
let's-
I mean, if you're blessed, you're there to eat some good food.
Watch the Detroit Lions, the whole thing.
Watch it. And this is actually
gonna be-
a couple good years to
That's
watch
different.
the Detroit Lions.
Huge.
That used to be the depressing part of
Exactly,
Thanksgiving.
but
Is that
now
you'd be
it's
like,
like-
oh, I'm going to watch the Detroit Lions get beat up.
But you'd watch it no matter what.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you're in a food coma. You can't really move away from it.
Yeah.
You're on the
And now,
couch
right
one
now
way or
they're
another.
just on a tear now, so it's just different.
Tear.
This is
injuries piling up, but on a tear.
This is easily my favorite holiday and time of year, and when that overlaps, it's beautiful.
I mean, I'm sure it doesn't hurt that it's also right in the middle of deer season.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like
I've never even come close to killing a Thanksgiving buck. I'd love to do that.
That would be fun. You'd have to be able to get off the couch, though.
Yeah, but not if you go in the morning.
That's true. That's an idea.
That is how the Hicks family, like that's what we did on Thanksgiving.
You hunted on Thanksgiving.
I
you
think
ever
I've
see
told
any
the
deer?
story, but
Have you
Yeah,
killed on
we-
Thanksgiving?
oh yeah, I've killed does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the whole Hicks family would go into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
We'd fill out a 40-acre chunk, and somebody was going to shoot.
Pepper that thing.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, pepper that thing.
It was always an evening though. We'd watch the Lions, and then we'd all put on an orange beanie and
Yeah.
fill the woods for 2 hours.
You were the Orange Army.
And it made like the process so much faster. Like
Yeah.
you shoot one, there's 12 people, you like, hunk it out of the woods, and it's hanging. And
Oh, I understand that
No time.
intimately, actually. Yeah.
and then the last thing before we get into this story, if you're listening, use promo code podcast. If you're trying to get a piece of gear right now and you need a discount, use promo code podcast. You can get 10% off. Even furthermore, this will probably be in the middle or right before. Let me think about this.
Yeah, it'll be
On
on like
Black-
a Cyber Monday, probably. No, sorry. This is going to be afterwards. You're on Cyber Monday.
Yeah. So anyway, we just had a Black Friday sale. So if you missed it, use promo code podcast.
Yeah.
So, Trav,
Eh.
you why don't you lay it out? Like this is your podcast. So
My podcast.
you I don't know, how do we start this? So like you've
maybe a year
killed
ago.
deer, right? You've killed a deer, but never killed a
One-
buck.
I have killed one deer. It was a doe back when I was probably maybe 14. out at the Osborne Ranch, which is fun. It's still the same place that I'm hunting now.
And
Which
quickly
is
just
your
describe
grandpa's
that.
property.
My grandpa's old property, yeah. So I grew up. If you listen to the Caleb Smith podcast, you've kind of heard a little bit about the Osborne Ranch. Caleb Smith is my cousin. We all grew up very close to one another in terms of relationships and even in terms of distance. And that led to was facilitated by the fact that my grandma and grandpa out on their property, the Osborne Ranch, used to, when they were still alive, they would do almost every Sunday. We had Sunday lunch out at the Osborne Ranch. And so you'd go and you'd hang out with your cousins, with your aunts, uncles, grandparents, and they had on that same piece of property 48 acres of land that was kind of split between timber and swamp. A big chunk of it is swamp, and then you've got the other side of it is just standing timber. So grew up hunting there. My grandfather was big time. He was never like he was of that era. We've talked about that era before. Like he shot things to eat them.
I call them the bucket hunters.
The bucket hunter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. In fact, yeah. The actually, I found out just the other day that the stand that I've been hunting is called the Green Bucket Stand. Had no idea, because they used to hunt that same tree that I'm now in the stand in, but it was just a green bucket sitting at the bottom of the tree. So that's all the older generation does, it, the Green Bucket Stand. But that was the area that I grew up around, just in terms of like actually being present around that area. But then everyone hunted. And I did so for like 3 years before I realized that I didn't have the patience for it. And
That was
gave
at what
up hunting.
age?
Probably around like maybe 14.
It was when you hung it up for the last time.
Yeah, that was, I think, the last time that I went out, and it was with a shotgun. I had a little break action 20 gauge. And I remember, I think it was actually the year that I killed, because I shot this doe. And she was too far out, if I remember correctly. I shouldn't have taken the shot. I took the shot anyways, and I broke her back hip.
That seems to be a common theme with you, Trav.
Yeah, and I did not feel great about that. I remember the feeling of having to like finish that off, and I didn't feel good about it. And I think that's when I hung it up.
You hung it up.
I hung it up.
You actually made a conscious decision after that, like, hey, I'm hanging it up.
Well, I think that contributed to it. I mean, the other fact of the matter was that I was a little more of a black sheep for my family, and I felt like, you know what, I've got other things that I'm good at. I don't need to do this hunting thing because I don't have patience for it. So I hung it up and never thought I'd come back to it, to be completely honest. My dad, my brother, my cousins, my uncles, they all hunt every year. Like my brother, my cousins are fanatics. And I've been surrounded by it, and that almost actually drove me further away, because I was like, yeah, no, like, you guys are crazy. And then I got hired here.
You got hired, yeah.
Yeah. Then you got hired to a hunting company.
I did, yeah, which was not something that was at all on my radar. Part of the job here has been doing deer recoveries, which is what we've been doing for this past month. And I remember.
Can you tell me about that?
What?
Like, is that contagious?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was about to say. Like, you guys took me out on that first one. That would have been.
Very
first
first
one
one
was
had
here.
to be. No, it had to be Nate's November 1st buck last year.
Was it?
I don't know, but it's
was.
like our theme
Because
has
then I killed on the 6th.
our
You did,
theme has
yeah.
naturally presented itself. Like, we use the products, we're out hunting, we're filming on our products. Trav comes in as the recovery, and we get this, like, that seems to be like, if you're following our YouTube page, it kind of that's like our style.
That is, yeah, that's the formula at this point.
We film
Recovery vlogs.
It's like I love it too, because that's the part that.
It's the camaraderie part.
Yeah, that's the family-oriented piece that
100%.
you get excited about going. And it's like that one time a year, and it's contagious.
Yeah, 100%. I remember going out on it, so it would have been you. And I remember going out that first time. We didn't have an office at that point in the year. Like, at that
We hadn't
point.
built this yet?
No, this was built. This office that we're sitting in was built, but we had no heat in it. Nate was not working here. He was working from his house. I was working from my house. I was You guys first brought me on like part-time.
Early on.
It wasn't turnkey out here yet.
It was not turnkey. None of the production stuff was here. That was all out at Nate's mom's house. So we literally were all like, there was no centralized, painted
Wow,
arrow.
that was,
So I get into a car,
You forget about that, you know?
head out, and I remember showing up, and it was so much fun. It was, because it was Nate's house, because we went down. Remember, he shot that and then went back into its bed. That's the buck that, it was a bruiser buck.
The bruiser buck. There you
Yeah.
go.
And I was like, oh, this is fun. Like this, I can get behind this. This is actually fun.
I think stylistically you were able to see how your skill set could be used to create an awesome product with that being the thing.
Well, yeah, for sure. There was definitely like that side of it, like that. Oh, I think that we are gonna have something that's worth watching here. But then there was also like, oh, I forgot about this side of deer hunting. I forgot that isn't just sitting out in the woods and like staring at at squirrels as they mock you. It's like no, there's something here. And then I also started going like, oh, and this is something that's now attainable, because for the longest time as well, like after you get out of the game for long enough, the price tag of getting back in,
There is a monetary piece.
because if you're not like slowly building gear over the years, I mean, if you're just going in like cold, which I was, like I had nothing.
Well, even like you were 14 the last time you hunted, so how many years ago was that?
32 now,
So nearly 20 years ago. The gear's changed a little in 20 years.
A little
So
bit.
even if you had gear,
I remember how much I hated the gear as well back then. That was another thing that pushed me out of the woods. And we were doing all homemade stands. I
Meaning,
remember
hold
how
on.
bad my butt would hurt.
like the gear, like you didn't like buying it?
No,
What
I
do you mean?
didn't. I didn't like the way that I was always cold. I remember just like
didn't have the right gear.
frigid cold.
Yeah.
I remember it was miserable. Everything about it to me at that point in my life was miserable. And you fast forward, and I'm starting to see, okay, like not only is, and also, I mean, you got to think about it. We've talked about this that long ago. There also wasn't the same herd in Michigan.
oh yeah, the deer hunting was just
So I remember getting blanked all the time.
yeah.
Sitting out there freezing cold, not knowing what I'm doing, getting blanked, and also just like, what am I like? So I just was like, no, this isn't for me. And then stepping into it again as a last year 31-year-old, I was like, oh, this actually, there might be something to this. Hanging around you guys is also like, you could be a dang vegan if you're hanging around Nate and Devin long enough. You're going to be like, I could actually probably go out hunting. Maybe I'll do that. And so you guys gave me not only like the vision of, oh, this is actually something that could be a lot of fun, and it has a community aspect to it. And all of a sudden now I have a reason to actually reinvest, because it's like I need gear now, even just to be out in the woods. It was a perfect storm. And then y'all gave me I got to use the shot bow. And that was January 29th was the first time I shot that. We've got video of that.
Yeah.
And it's in the vlog. And that was the first time I had drawn back on a bow in, like near 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we pieced together that bow throughout last show season.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We got a stabilizer. I remember I think it was at the Great American Show.
It was at Great American, yeah. Which, man, what a show.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, you got a release, had some issues, and then bought the, what is that? The
Spot Hog.
Spot Hog with the BOA system.
Yeah, the Cam
release,
Hangs
yeah.
edition. Yeah.
Sweet release.
Oh, it's sweet.
And then we got you some arrows. You got some arrows, and then we got some more arrows.
Yeah.
We rolled through some arrows.
I've had some issues with arrows. I've had a lot of issues with arrows.
You should just start building your own.
Yeah, that would probably even give me more issues with arrows, yeah.
So then we pieced together a sight.
Yeah.
We had a sight here, a quiver from an old quiver. The rest.
Yeah.
You bought.
QAD, yep.
So like all of a sudden, like you
Well,
had
wait.
this.
Most important thing, though,
Oh, wait a minute.
Mag Pro is on the front of it. It's a beautiful
How can
Mag
we
Pro.
forget that
Yeah,
every
that's-
time?
It's one of our
that's
limited edition Mag Pros dipped in Origin. Yeah. Sick.
It wouldn't even sell that.
No.
Actually, I think Trav has the only one in existence.
I do.
Yeah. He's like, I do.
Yeah, it's the only one that exists.
So basically, walk me into that. So like this summer, you had everything you needed.
Yeah.
You were starting to get reps in. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you were thinking in terms of did you feel like it was realistic that you were going to get an arrow in a deer? Like, do you remember the phases? Because I know bow hunting is very mental, just like a lot of
Yeah.
things. You could make the case that, sports, basketball, whatever, it's
Yeah.
very mental. There's a lot of mental side of it. Do you remember what you were thinking in that time?
Well, I remember thinking that at the very least I have the right people around me to help that happen. Like if I'm going to have a chance as a new bow hunter, then at least I've got Nate and Dev that are watching, because I did, especially at the beginning and at points along the way where I felt super iffy when I kind of regressed on my shooting. I had you guys actually stand out and watch me and like, okay, am I doing this right? So it was a huge step ahead of, if I had just gone into it and raw dogged it, like, hey, let's just figure this out on my own. It was, no, hey, you don't want to do that, or hey, make sure that you want to be surprised by your release. Hey, you want to make sure, because I remember even at the beginning, I was closing my left eye, and you guys were like, why are you doing that? I was like, well, don't you have to, like, I'm thinking of a gun.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, no, like keep the, so it was like everything that I could have built up really bad habits. I was blessed that starting from the get, I was starting with good habits. However, like in terms of actually thinking about like, I'm going to use this bow to kill an animal, that felt fairly far-fetched.
Like a foreign thing.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, like I remember even just getting blanked so many times throughout, my couple years hunting as a kid. I was like, yeah, I don't know about all that, but you guys, especially
because you were just trying to shoot a deer.
a deer, yeah, I wasn't being picky. I really wasn't being picky.
It's funny though what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Every year I feel, and I didn't let you really finish all the way, but
No, continue.
the foreign feeling of like, is this going to happen? It seems like every year I'm like, how
So
is
that's
this
not
going to
something that
line
goes away.
up? Like,
Well, I mean,
how am I going to get an arrow with this bow into an animal?
it's like I'm gonna pull back this string and shoot a pointy stick through an animal and ethically end its life.
Yeah.
Like I have
Wait,
that
you guys still have that?
every.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I grab my
Interesting. I
bow to
just
go
figured
into
it was me.
no. Every time I go into the field, I'm like, I gotta use this thing to like.
This is
I
going to
build
barely get it
confidence
done.
with more reps. Like at the beginning of the season, though, I'm always like, how? Especially on the backcountry stuff where you're like,
Oh,
you're scratching your head.
Yeah, that's different.
How is this going to line
That
up?
is different.
Miles between me and anything living.
No, but that's normal. That's pretty
Okay,
normal,
yeah.
I think.
That's exactly how I felt going into this year, for sure. And then we said it in the vlog, but I ended up getting that drop away rest because we were running originally a whisker biscuit. And
God bless the whisker biscuit.
yeah, I felt like with me being a new bow hunter, I was a little, wait, what are we?
Nothing. I just had an idea.
He's got an idea. He's got his finger up. I felt
had a
like
good idea.
being a new bow hunter that it'd be better for me to get a drop away so I have the least amount of contact with my arrow just because my follow through was not great. And so I switched it, but when we handed it off to get switched with our bow tech, I didn't have I went from shooting every day to, I think we had like a month, just how it worked out, without the bow, and it came back to me and I was off. And so we went into the year and I didn't feel confident at all.
Yeah.
I think there's a clip in the vlog that was somewhere in the middle between beginning shooting the bow and season. Like we were getting down close to season, and it was
Yeah.
kind of right when you were feeling the crappiest about your shooting.
Yes, I was not feeling good.
I think even the day that we like stuck a phone in your face and started filming, you weren't real into it.
Oh, I had straight up airballed on our back target over here. I lost an arrow that day.
Yeah, and you were just like,
I was like, frick, how am I'm going to kill a deer when I can't even hit a broadside of a barn?
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that happens.
It does, apparently.
I feel like that's a totally normal progression.
Yeah.
What was the farthest you were shooting at?
Very early in the game, I was shooting at 60 yards with Nate, trying to get the...
Because we were sighting in.
yeah, we're trying to...
Yeah. But like, if the goal is let's kill a deer with a bow, like 10, 20, 30, let's just shoot that.
And that's really what we came down to at the end was like, hey, Trav, let's shrink your effective range, and let's just say that maybe 25 is the limit.
So the season came up. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your first hunt.
Actually, I want to ask one other question.
Yep.
So before day one,
Mm-hmm.
October 1st, opening day, where were you at mentally with your shooting at that point? Had you kind of recovered, gained a little confidence, or were you like kind of almost like, well, here we go?
It was, oh, well, here we go.
Yeah.
It did. It felt like, dude, I'm gonna wait until a deer gets 5 yards away from me.
I'm
Then
gonna
maybe
jump
I'll
on his
hit
back.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd actually have better luck with jumping on his back. That first hunt. So I another thing that had kind of stacked up quickly for us, was that everything with the Colorado trip was coming up, and we had kind of gotten crazy. We were also in the hot season for selling stuff, so I ended up actually not being able to even go out to really walk the property that I was going to hunt. And I hadn't been back in the woods in years. And within this past year, long story short, my aunt and uncle, when my grandpa passed away, they moved into that house. And my uncle, who's semi-retired, he did a crazy amount of work in the woods. And so the woods looks nothing like when I was a kid. It just doesn't. He put in some really good trail systems. He put in a whole bunch of new stands. He went to town. He did a great job. Uncle Chuck, he did a great job. However, that being the case, I didn't know where anything was. And so I went in that first day, and I was, to be honest, scared because it's morning. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I got to find my way somewhere in the dark. So I actually ended up picking probably the closest concealed stand. There's a stand that's out in the open, but I didn't want to go there. I went to the pines, and I sat up in the pines, and it was, everything about it was so foreign. It was so foreign. I felt like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
It was.
And you're going in there for your first time in 20 years and with a bow.
Oh man, with a bow. And I remember walking in as well, and I didn't even think about the fact like deer have reflective eyes. And I'm walking in, and I look over, and there's these two eyes just like looking at me in the dark. And I was like, I am kind of worried right now, like a grown man. I was like, shoot, if something comes after me, can I kill it with this bow? It was silly. I get up into the stand.
Oh, you're saying like you had a headlamp and you saw this deer as you were walking in, and it kind of gave you the spooks.
It gave me the spooks, man. I was like, frick, man, it's pitch black out here.
And it didn't run off?
No, it just stared at me.
Wild.
I didn't like it. So I get up into the stand, and it took me a while just to even get comfortable. Like, okay, like how do I sit? Because I remember I didn't have a bow hook.
Do you remember when this was? October what?
Probably like the 3rd, maybe.
Okay.
It was pretty early. So I didn't have a bow hook. I didn't know how to it's the stupid things that you guys probably don't think about anymore because you guys have done the repetitions, but stuff like, how do I hold my bow so I'm ready when something comes? Like, should I be standing right now or should I be sitting? Like, how much movement can I make? How do I get to my gear quickly? Because I remember like my rangefinder was in a spot where I couldn't quite grab it. And it's super awkward. And so I ended up actually, it was encouraging though, because the first day I had a doe and a yearling walk within 25 yards straight ahead of me broadside. And another just experience issue, I did not know that I could shoot at a doe that had a yearling. I just assumed, okay, they're together. I can tell that obviously this one's the baby of the doe. I was like, oh, I shouldn't do that. And I didn't even lift my bow, didn't stand up. I just filmed them going by.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Some people feeling different about it. I mean, generally, if they don't have spots anymore, usually during the rut, they get kicked off their mother anyway, and they got to start fending for themselves. So
yeah, so I came back after that and got that feedback from both of you guys. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. Like, just didn't know.
It's really a personal call.
Yeah. So I don't know what I would have done, but I had no idea at the time. It like was something I had never even thought about. And I was like, huh.
yeah.
So, but I mean, in terms of like, first hunt, it was nice to be able to actually like go, okay, there are deer here, and there's also deer that I can be silent enough to allow this. That would have been a shootable moment. But.
So tell me about you had a couple of mishaps.
Yeah.
Tell me about those, because that's really the lead up to the deer that.
Yeah. So like we had said, I was already, beginning the year not feeling super confident with my ability to shoot an arrow. And so I'd gone out to the property. At this point, I'd been out a couple times. And so this was my first actual night hunt. And I had gone out with a certain stand in mind, and my uncle was like, hey, I actually haven't been able to find that stand. It's somewhere buried in the woods. We'll try to find it later, but you should go and sit this food plot. We have an old clearing that's been there as long as I've been alive, and they put a food plot into it, and there's a stand right off the east side of it. And he said, there's been 3 bucks that have been daylighting out there. I've seen them often. And we need to kill them before the rut because they all have bad genetics. So all 3 of these bucks belong to the same genetic line where they all are abnormal racks. So each one of them has, a kind of an awkward looking side that has points and then just a spike on the other side. The spike is even kind of swirly. They're really odd looking bucks. I called them the callings because we needed to call them. And he said, hey, this is the spot to go. Just go and sit there. I bet you'll see them. So I go out there and get up in the stand, and sure as crap, an hour in, over my right shoulder, I have one of those bucks walk up on me. And, at that point of the year, still early October, lots of foliage in the way, and he popped up on me. I had no idea he was coming. And so I look over my shoulder, and he's like 5 yards off, and he's looking at me. And I was like, oh, crap. And he's downwind of me as well. And I spook him almost immediately, but my heart is going like crazy. This is, the first real close encounter that I've had. And so I'm like, it's what, it's probably only a 3-point. And I was jittery. I was like, oh, no, this isn't a good sign. I'm sitting there like, oh, okay, all right, get recentered.
Yeah.
And about 10 minutes in, another one of the brothers comes, and he comes straight out from in front of me, right about maybe a 1 o'clock. And he pops out of the woods, and I was like, this is it. You guys were actually in Colorado, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to put my first deer down
without us here,
without those guys here, and I'm going to rub it in. I'm going to be like, you guys weren't even here for it. Take that. And I'm thinking all this, we've talked about before, even with you guys before, I'm having the grip and grins in my head.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh yeah, and this is an oddball buck, and I'm kind of an oddball dude. Let's do this thing. And he walks, it was a softball, a gift from God. He walks 20 yards straight ahead of me, and he has to, in order to get to this clearing, there's a little patch of trees. And so he's crossing behind the trees, which gives me perfect cover to go ahead and draw.
Yeah.
And I am literally, my knees are going, and he's working his way across behind these trees. I full draw, and while I'm drawing, I had never practiced drawing
in the stand.
And so I bottom out against the tree with my elbow. I panic, lean forward, get to full draw, and he's coming out from behind the trees, and he's got a good 25 yards before he'd get to the other side of this clearing. I've got so much space. And I see a little bit of brown on the sight, and I just pull. I don't remember even thinking about it. I just pull.
Yeah.
And I shot probably about a foot over his head. Or over his back. I wasn't shooting at his head. I promise you that. But I shot about a foot over his back.
Just sailed it. And
he goes
At
running
25.
off. 20 probably.
So he was right there.
He was right there. He was mine for the taking. It was a buck that we needed to kill. And at the same point, it's a small enough buck that's for me, I was thinking what a good entry. This is, something that we needs to die, but it's also not I'm going to take a shot at, the biggest buck on the property. And I sailed it, and he goes running off, and I remember just feeling the letdown of that. I was like, oh, no. And I remember praying.
Yeah.
God, if you just let him come back. If you just let him come back, I'll do better next time. Just let him go. And I'm praying fervently about this. God, just let me have another chance. Sit till sundown. Obviously, nothing comes back. And I got down. I just felt like dirt.
Yeah.
Just dirt. I was like, well, there's that.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
You just see brown, and all of a sudden your arrow's gone.
Dude, I have no idea what I was doing. There was no chill to me. And if you watch the footage as well, literally, I don't even know if he had fully cleared.
Filmed on the Mag Pro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if he had even fully cleared the trees by the time I released.
Personally, I used to beat myself up about misses, and then it converts to just wanting another opportunity to right the wrong.
Yeah.
But what gets me is like when you've made contact with a deer and you're not sure it's going to die. That's like I can get over misses. That's the thing that like mentally it's tough for me to like get through. Like it ruined an entire season and a half for me one time.
Yeah, we're getting to that next.
Yeah.
The next encounter.
Hit me with the next encounter. So that was the softball lob.
That was just so easy.
That was like an underhand pitch.
It was just so easy. It was literally like God was like, "Here, I'm going to let you have a really, really easy first try," and then I was like, "Let me just whiff that hard."
You know, I actually like that though because that tested your mettle a little, and it was like that's like the beginner's luck thing. Like the guy, you know, you always see like, oh, I went out for my first time and shot a giant buck. Like, how's it this hard? So I love that it didn't go perfect. And
it gave me respect for it.
It gave you respect, and then like you grit your teeth and you're like, oh, I'm doing this now.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah,
I will not miss that again. And so I go back out into the woods. It was one of the first mornings where it actually got like cold. And I'm sitting there, and the deer, I was in them that day. Sitting in a really good spot, kind of right along the main thoroughfare that all the deer travel at this property. And I'm sitting there freezing my butt off. That was really the first day that I had gotten real cold. Like my fingers, I couldn't feel the tips of my fingers, and I had already watched a couple bucks walk through spikes, and like true spikes, not any.
So you're passing them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, spikes. Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to shoot a spike. And so I'm watching these things. In fact, the same set of spikes, there's twins on the property, has come up to me. One of them has come up to me every time I've been out there. Every time. I've not failed to see, and this spike is stupid. It always gets downwind of me, sniffs me.
He likes you.
And then looks at
I
me.
think he likes you.
He likes the
He
smell.
just looks at me and
Trav's
just keeps
back.
going. He's like, oh gosh.
I like the way that guy smells.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got a musk to him, you know?
Yeah.
So I had already, you know, had some action, at least in terms of
Deer movement.
And as I'm sitting there, it was getting pretty close to the time where I had to get down and go and get my kid. And I look out into the swamp. The swamp's straight ahead of me. And I see a doe moving through the swamp coming into the timber. And she's moving slow.
This is a morning hunt?
This is a morning hunt, yeah. And this is the first time also that, like, basically all the deer, we don't have, like, a bunch of, like, habitat that the deer really are sticking around. We're kind of more of a transitionatory piece of land. Unless they're out in the swamp, they're kind of moving from point A to point B. So everything that I had encountered thus far was, like, the deer is here. Like, it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
The deer is here and it's moving, and like you have to now find a way to like get on this. I had never really seen a deer browsing.
Yeah.
And this doe was browsing. She was moving slow.
Taking
She's
her time.
eating little pieces, you know, off the shrubs and stuff, and she's just working her way in. So I laser focus in on this doe. And something that I had also kind of built as a habit was that since I had seen all these deer moving so quickly through, I would immediately stand up as soon as I saw the deer. Because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do this later. I'm going to stand up.
That's good.
I put on my phone. I'm going to start it. And so I've got this huge, like, half-hour clip of this deer. And I'm sitting there, and I'm cold. Like I said, like, I'm truly cold. And my knees start going.
Yeah.
As I'm watching this deer, you know, 35 yards out, my knees are going to the point where I was worried I was going to fall out of the stand.
I used to have that issue when I was younger, and it was induced by being cold. Like it is buck fever, but you can't get control over the muscle spasms because you're just so cold. It's like you're like, how am I ever going to shoot this deer?
Once again, I'm praying, standing in the stand. I'm like, Lord, just let my knees. I'm literally doing like it looks like I've got like a muscular
Disorder.
degeneration. Yeah, like. And I'm standing there, and she's still way out, and she's like just slowly moving in. And I'm there, like looking like I'm about to fall out of my like Gumby out of the stand.
You look like you're like twerking.
Yeah, man. I'm like getting it, like
back.
you know, like
Throw
hey,
back,
you
Trav.
know, get the hips into it. And about 10 minutes in, I'm doing my little twerk, and all of a sudden, I've been so laser focused on this doe. Out of the corner of my eye, all of a sudden, I catch movement, and I look down, and 5 yards away from me is the biggest of the three Call bucks, the Call brothers. And he's like, honestly, kind of a cool deer. And he's right there, and he's looking at me like, what the heck
What
is
is that
going
guy
on
doing?
there?
I've never seen that move.
Yeah. And I'm looking at him, and I'm praying so hard, like, God, just let me. And he boogers out,
Yep.
comes back, boogers out, comes back, boogers out.
What a dummy.
Yeah, not too smart. And I was like, crap. I was like, I need to sit down. And so I sit down, and this
I
doe
just
is,
see you like twerk.
dude. And trying to sit down, I like fell into the seat too because like I didn't have any control over my legs. And I was like, is embarrassing to be completely honest. So I'm watching this doe, and I tried to stand back up as she's coming in, and my legs are not doing it. So I was like, I'm going to take this shot from a seated position. And so she starts coming in. She's coming in. I forget, once again, newbie move. I forget to range it. I completely forgot to range it.
Did she kind of see the buck do her thing and looked in, then after a while thought it was fine?
She never really reacted to him.
Yeah.
She looked at him, but she just like tail never went up. Body language.
He never blew.
He never blew.
Got it.
He just kind of ran out. And so I sit down. I haven't ranged her, and all of a sudden she's within the spot that I probably should be drawing and going for it. And I thought, like, oh no, range. And so I looked at some of the different landmarks I had already ranged, and I was like, I think that she's at like 25 yards. And I pull back. I'm still shaking because it's still cold, but at least I'm sitting. I pull back and I go, do not do what you did last time. And I go, get it on where I wanted to shoot. And as I'm pulling against that trigger, you can watch it on my footage. I hesitate and pull my bow and then release. I was thinking about don't shoot over her back.
Yeah.
And I pulled left and down, and I loose that arrow, and it goes flying out there. And I didn't see anything. And she goes running off, and she's blowing at me.
Blowing at you.
Blowing at me. Like hard, like.
I've never. Sorry, I've never seen a hit deer do that. Ever.
She goes off into. I know exactly why she did it. She goes off into, the woods over. I hear her blowing for a while. I sit there. I turn the phone around, and I said to the phone, I am a crap shot. I was so mad at myself. I thought I had missed her completely. Waited for a while. I was like, once again, I'm kind of getting close to needing to go. I was like, I'm going to get down and get my freaking arrow, and then I'll just still hunt. And I'm mad at this point. I'm like, I've gotten 2 chances. What the heck am I doing here?
Yeah.
I go out, grab the arrow, look at the arrow, and it had buried itself in the dirt up to about the fletching. And so I pull it out, and all I can see is dirt. I was like, great. Okay, I'm just going to go back in. I'm like, but I'm going to creep my way back in because I got about a half hour until I need to leave. And so I start creeping my way back in, and I get to this certain area.
Didn't you call me?
Not after this, I called you.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm creeping out, and there's this spot in the woods where our trail system comes out, and then it opens up, and there's a big grove of pines. If you go to the left of the pines, you get back to the house quick. If you go to the right of the pines, you kind of go around the back end of the pines, and then you get to the house. I was like, you know what? I've got extra time. Let's go ahead and creep. I was like, maybe there's something going on back there. So I'm creeping along the back end of the pines, and I look down, and there's a big old spot of blood, fresh blood, like bright red. And I was like, what the heck? I go a few steps further. I see another, like there's a trail. And I was like, crap, the neighbor shot a deer and it came onto our property.
Yeah. And this is when you called me, I think.
Yes, I did. Because I was like, do I trail this deer?
Yeah.
And you said, yeah. And also my cousin who's out at, lives out there was like, yeah, I would trail it. Like, and don't do anything if you find it, but like at least trail it. And so I'm working on the assumption that this thing has come from the other side of the property. So I turn around and start working my way up this blood trail back towards my stand. I'm working my way through. It's going through thickets. I'm finding big old patches of blood. In fact, I'm sending them out to Nate. I'm sending out to my brother. Like, is this this looks like this is serious. I was like, yeah, no, it's a good blood trail. I'm following it through. I come through this thicket where I've gotten all turned around. It literally zigzagged through this thicket. And there's a big fallen tree over the back end of the entrance to this thicket. And I duck under the tree, and I come up, and I look up, and there's my stand. And I was like, wait. And I look down, and I'm looking around. I'm like, what the heck? And I realize that I'm right where this deer was. Like, this is the last blood, and this is crap. I'm going the wrong way.
You tracked it back to where you
I
shot it. That
tracked
was
it
your
back
deer.
to its beginning. And I was like, oh, crap. So I turn around and I run back the other way.
you texted me at that point and said like,
It's mine.
You're like, I think it's my deer, and I'm like, oh, like this is interesting.
So I was like, dude, what a cool story this would be. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that I hit it, and now and so we also, we talked about it in hindsight, and it was like, well, why didn't I find any blood right at the area of impact? 90% sure with the way that I pulled my bow as I shot, pretty sure we shot it through the neck. And so that's, I think, why it was blowing, because it has a neck wound, and it's like what the heck is this? Yeah. I go back to the other side and I start trailing this thing, and it goes another like 20 yards past where I had first, found the blood, and it takes a hard turn into the swamp. I turn with it into the swamp, and right where it enters the swamp, the trail system for the deer takes 3 different paths. It tridents out, and all 3 paths are under about 3 inches of water. And I was like, oh no, my heart fell. Ended up looking for a half hour, couldn't find anything. My brother came out and looked with me. We started gritting. We ended up gritting for like probably an hour, 2 hours. Couldn't find it, lost the deer, and I felt like crap.
Yeah, that's the one that's like, it's just, you're like, frick.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go back out. I was like, I don't deserve to go
I know
back out.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and actually, I think you guys and my dad were like, no, you have to go back out. Like, go out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So that was, the last one before.
When you get kicked by a horse, you got to get back on.
I mean, if you bow hunt long enough, it's going to happen. I mean,
that was what everyone told me, which was comforting in a way, but also still a kick in the nuts.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like, I don't want to hear that right now.
Yeah, because I was like, if I was a better bow hunter, though, then this wouldn't happen right now.
It's also your first deer with a bow ever.
Yeah, it's the second time I'd ever drawn on a deer.
Yeah. So to say I wish I was a better bow hunter, like that's silly. You got to go do the thing to be better at it.
To get good at it. But yeah, that was the last attempt.
That was a low blow.
That was a low blow. Yeah, but you guys.
So that
forced
was
me back
what?
Out.
Yeah, what day
date?
was that? Remember that?
I can't remember the exact date.
We were back from Colorado though, right?
Yes, you had to be because I called Nate.
You're right.
Yeah. So it was like right after you guys had gotten back.
Late
It was the
October.
weekend. It was the weekend after you got back.
It was late October.
Yeah.
No, we got back in the middle of October.
Yeah. So it was mid October because I had a few weeks after that.
We got back like the 18th or 19th or somewhere in there, I think.
So then,
Trav had 2 opportunities before we even got started bow hunting in Michigan.
yeah, and I missed both of them.
so this is the next encounter, right?
Oh yeah.
So get in.
No, there were hunts in between.
There were hunts in between, yeah, for sure. There's hunts in between, but this was the next time I actually got to, actually draw on something.
November
10th.
November 10th. That sounds like a good
banging day.
It was
That's
a banging day.
Like fist pumping day.
Dude, it was a great day.
Yeah.
It was a great day.
This is a morning.
No, it was afternoon hunt, and actually I had been.
That's right.
The funny thing about this hunt was that it, by all means, it should not have worked out in my favor that day. I had literally been at the Osborne Ranch at the house. We were doing a family lunch. We had gotten a late start on the lunch, so it was already past the time change. So I got out into the woods around like 2:30. The sun goes down at 5:30.
That's still pretty good.
I mean, it's enough time, but I also was going to the furthest spot away from the house to sit, so it was a good amount of even just traversing to get there.
Yeah.
I didn't have any scent blocker on me in terms of like I hadn't taken a scent blocking shower. I had just ate a meal, like a really delicious meal. I had like my normal deodorant on. It was 60 degrees, which obviously is not ideal. Mm-hmm. And then I went out. There was a reason why I did this. I went out with, if you guys are First Light people, I went out with Solitude bibs on into 60-degree weather, which Solitude bibs are like supposed to be like near
Under
or below
40.
freezing. Yeah. They were my only layer on my bottom side of camouflage. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this just because I'd rather have the camouflage and be hot than not and be spotted. And so I throw these things on. Now, what I don't know why I did is I threw on also the Solitude jacket.
Whoa. Dude, you were a Bunsen burner.
I have
Bunsen burner.
I have
Yeah.
I have layers of camouflage on my top end that are not heavy. But I threw on the Solitude. I wasn't thinking. I was just like, I just want to get out in the woods. I put on this freaking just heater, and I walk out, and I get so hot within the first 100 yards away from the house that I unzip the sides of the Solitude all the way up to my cheeks. I'm wearing just like Under Armour spandex under it. And so I'm walking out, my hairy bare legs flapping in the wind, get out all the way to this far, it's the green bucket stand. So what the old guys used to, hunt a bucket
edge.
on. Yeah, it's right on the southeast side of the property. It's right on the edge of the swamp. Swamp's to your back.
How long do you estimate that green bucket's been there?
Well, it's not there anymore, but they said for years that's what was back there. That's how they know the stand. But now it's just it's a hanging stand, a portable stand out there. And I walk all the way back, and I'm sweating, I'm sweating, uncomfortably so. And I climb up, I get into the stand. Wait, as I'm walking in, actually into this clearing, it's not really even a clearing, but it's like a kind of a more semi-open section of tall timber. As I'm walking in, I knock a buck out from right in front of the stand, and he is snort wheezing at me.
Big buck?
I only see his butt, but he's snort wheezing.
Yeah.
Probably about 30 yards ahead of the stand.
Wait. Snort wheezing. What do you mean?
He might have thought you were another buck.
Yeah, so I actually ended up
Interesting.
pulling up my grunt, and I grunted at him. Like, okay, I'm just going to try to make him think that I'm another buck. And nothing happens. I'm like, I need to get up into the stand. I'm exposed down here. So
Wait, he flagged when he snort wheezed? He flagged his tail and left?
Yeah, he flagged his tail and ran. You could hear him run. It probably sounded like he only went like maybe 15 yards, but in the opposite direction, back into the thick crap. So I couldn't see him at all after I saw the tail go up, and then he's just sitting back in that.
Snort wheezed at you?
Yeah, multiple times. And so I get up into the stand as quickly as I can, and I'm like, I'm not going to spend all my time getting, my tether all in and stuff. I was like, I'm just going to stand here. And I was like, I only got a couple hours of light left. I put the seat up on the stand. I just leaned back. I was like, I'm just going to stand here. I'm going to hold my bow. Once again, I don't have a bow hook. So I'm just going to stand. I was like, because I don't want to blow any more time here. Like, I feel like I have, the possibility of this deer.
Yeah.
And I get up there. He snort wheezes me one last time. I throw another grunt into the wind, and then nothing. About an hour in, little under an hour in, I'm sitting right on the edge of the swamp. The swamp's out my back, and I hear something tearing through the swamp. And I look over, and there's like some taller shrubs in the middle of the swamp, and those things are going back and forth like something's raking at it. And once again, I don't have any, all I have is a grunt. Yeah, actually, it's Devin's old grunt. He's like, hey, this thing's killed deer. You take this. And so I'm just like, I might as well grunt. I'm not practice at grunting either. So I'm like, this could actually be working against me. But I'm just like, you know what? There's something over there. I don't think it's going to come over here. And so I grunt out that way. Actually, it was the sequence that you guys had taught me, though.
Sort of a tending type grunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I throw that out that way. The tree immediately stops moving. And I was like, I just scared this deer away. I was like, frick.
No, he went like this.
And so I just leaned back. I was like, hey, it is what it is. Like, my legs are still wide open in the wind. I have no scent proving on.
Blowing stink right down into the swamp.
I was like, this is not going to work out for me today. But you know what? It'd be cool if it did. Because, in fact, before I went out, my kid was there.
And your whole family.
And my whole family. And I had actually told my dad before I'd gone out, like, if this works out today, because I'm divorced. And so, like, having my kid already there, not having to do a transfer, having my brother there who's been like a big champion of this whole, like, getting back into hunting thing, having my dad there, having the aunts and uncles, like, this would be so cool. But I'm like, it's a pipe dream, man. This is not going to work. Today's not the day for it. And so I'm leaning back, and I'm just watching out in front of me. And probably about an hour from the point that I get up into the stand, all of a sudden from behind me, I hear something coming through the swamp. And it's coming through loud.
Is this like downwind?
Yeah. No, actually, yeah. I'm throwing my wind right at him.
You must have some musk about you that the deer likes.
Something.
That deer was snort wheezing at you because he liked.
He said,
could
hey,
smell your rub butter all over you.
Hey, pretty baby. He probably could smell my grundle butter.
Exactly. Dear Lord.
So I immediately, as soon as I hear this over my shoulder, I threw the phone onto the Mag Pro. And I started
Huge
it
plug
running.
there.
Yeah.
Huge plug for the Mag Pro.
I also knew that if I didn't get, whenever I did end up killing, if I didn't get it on Mag Pro, then I would probably not be welcomed back in this office.
You wouldn't have.
Yeah. So
You'd
I was
have
like,
a week less vacation time. Next
so I was like, okay, first things first, threw that on there, started up, and I looked over my left shoulder. And like I said, he's downwind of me. I look over my left shoulder, and 5 to 6 yards away, he steps up. And
5 to 6 yards.
he came close. And honestly, this stand is in a weird position because it is like the trails that come out of the swamp into your shooting lanes are like they come real close to the bottom of the stand. So you don't get very much like
Heads up.
heads up or ability. Even you can't turn around. There's no lanes to shoot behind it. And so it's like you have to just be ready and hopefully your wind is in a good spot. And he comes up and stands right there. And at this point, I can see antlers, but I have no idea what he is. But he is like he's rutting. You know, he's full alert, his tail's half up, and he's just like sniffing the wind. And once again, he's downwind of me. I was like, this is not going to work. But he just marches straight forward. And so he's to my left side.
Is this stand really, really high?
It's probably like a 15, 16 foot stand.
And was the wind high or was it a low wind?
The wind was, it was gusts of like 10 to 12 miles per hour. So it was.
Maybe the wind was just going over his back or something.
Very,
maybe the
very
thermal,
well.
maybe like the wind was the predominant wind direction was doing one thing, but the thermals because you were in the swamp was
I
doing
have no
something
idea.
else. I
Or
don't know.
maybe he was just stupid.
I highly doubt it.
So he works his way out, and I'm starting to pray. Again, you're seeing a theme here.
Are you clipped on like praying like
Yes.
dear Lord, let me
I'm
make
clipped
this
on,
happen?
but not drawn, obviously. Clipped on, and I start praying. I'm like, Lord, let me be a good predator. It's actually something that you guys had shared with me back. I can't remember who it was. I think it was someone from Meat Eater who had
Yeah,
said,
it was Ranella.
that, hey, I am going to be a good predator. I can get excited after the shot.
Yep.
Like, I need to be a good predator here on this side so I can make an ethical shot. So I'm like, Lord, let me be a good predator. Just let me not screw this up. Because I'm thinking about all the things that I've already kind of screwed up on. And I'm like, God, just let me do better this time. Just let me do better. And he starts walking, and I go to full draw. Didn't hit the tree. I was like, okay, I'm learning. I'm stood up as well at this point. My knees are fine. I don't remember any real panic in my head except for just like, just let me be good at this. Yeah. And he comes across, quartering away hard. And I was like, okay, I know where I need to put this to hit his lungs. And I was like, put the pen there. I breathe, and I forget to meh him. Like, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't even part of my process in my head. And I'm telling you, it's Jesus. Stopped him in one of my only shooting lanes.
The only one.
The only one.
Yeah.
He goes 2 more steps, you never shoot that deer.
100%. Or I make a really stupid shot that I shouldn't make. And so he stops.
Just right there.
Yeah, I just want to interrupt. I remember seeing the footage, and I'm like,
Trav's a pro.
it looked like you were being extremely patient, which is the hard thing to do in that moment, as we've discussed on this podcast. But it looked like it was God.
Oh, 100%. He should. I don't know why he stopped.
He came kind of walking out real ruddy, head down, and then just in your only shooting lane, just
Stop. Just
stopped. Didn't look up, didn't look around, like he just stopped.
He was like, shoot me now, you know?
But it looked really like he if you were to have murped him,
Yeah.
you would have done it right there, right then
Yes.
when he
That's
stopped.
what I was going to say. So in the video, I'm waiting for you to murp him, and like the millisecond where I started to think, oh, it's too late, he stops, and I'm like, what?
I got
Like
the brick wall
right
where
where I was thinking, oh, you might have wanted to stop him right there. Then he stops.
The buck that God murped for you.
Yeah, 100%.
God murped him.
God murped him, and he stops.
That might be something to do with the title here.
Well, even
God murped him.
Even when he stopped, I was like, not to toot my own horn, I was proud of myself because I didn't just immediately as soon as he stopped, I like settled in. Like, okay,
did.
this is
Yeah,
where I
you
want to
did.
go. And I loose that arrow and I watch it fly exactly where I want
Right
it.
behind the shoulder.
Right behind the shoulder. I was like, yeah. And it hits him, and his back legs immediately go dead. And he drops. And I was like, what? Whoa. I hit him like lungs. Like, what the? And he is down and obviously spined.
Yeah, and he's like sprawling around.
He's sprawling around. And that's when, buck fever kicked in.
Oh my God, what just happened?
I like couldn't get words out, and I'm like, I turn the phone around. I'm like, oh, and then I look up, and he's looking at me, and I was like, oh crap, he's looking at me. I like put the phone back on it. I was like, what do I do? And so he starts crawling, and I call my brother. And I'm like, dude, what do I do? He's like, get down and finish the job. I was like, okay. And so I get down, put another arrow in. I creep up. He looks right at me.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I actually did an ethical shot, and I shot him right through the heart.
Just
He
perfect.
expired right there. And I was like, then it really hit. Like, holy crap.
Whole family's here.
And I'm looking at this now because honestly, like even when he came out, I knew that like rack. I had never counted points.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at him. I'm like, dude, he's pretty good.
We've since determined he's an old deer.
Yeah.
Big body, mature buck. Like, he's a mature buck.
He was digressing.
He
I'm positive.
He
I'm
was
very positive in it.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Or
be
just
more
the
happy.
genetics weren't, on his side, but like,
Yeah.
it appeared to me like that was an older deer, large skull. I did the mount for you, and when you like,
Huge skull.
I was telling Trav like, I'm real good at identifying. I can't tell you the age, but I feel very confident in identifying deer that are not two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like when you skin the hide, when you see the skull, when you look at
You can just tell.
It's just like that's and the inches of the actual skull length.
Yeah.
Tip to,
Even the width,
tip to end
too.
of the skull.
The width, like through the eye
So
sockets and
obvious.
stuff. Like,
It's so obvious when it's
Yeah.
older than two. It's very, very, very obvious.
Dude, it was a beautiful thing. And then after expiring, I call my brother. And I'm like, buck down. I call you guys,
Yeah.
buck down. And my brother's like, okay, the family's coming. And dude, the family came out. I had my brother, my kid, my dad, my uncle, my brother's kids were out there. 2 of my cousins came out, and we just had a party in the woods, man.
beautiful.
We
And you
just had a
shot him
party
with
in the
plenty
woods.
of daylight, too.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was probably only like 3:30 by the time that
34 o'clock, something like that.
something around there. And it was like, dude,
I think
this
you
is
called me at
awesome.
like 3:48 or something like that.
And it was just like it was a party.
And I remember getting a call from you at 3:48 on like a Saturday, or it was a Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah, it
and
was
I'm
Sunday.
like,
He's calling in for work.
no, I got that
Does he
call.
want
and
time off?
I was literally putting luxury vinyl plank down at my mother-in-law's, and Lanny's next to me, and I'm like, Trav killed. And I answered it, and you were just elated.
I was over
like,
the
I knew it.
moon.
Like, if you're calling me at 4 o'clock on a Sunday, like, either you got pink eye or
No, that came later.
Yeah.
No, it was a beautiful thing. And then as I had my brother actually ended up helping me gut it. Well, he ended up gutting it. He did almost the entire thing. I did get my hands bloody though. But as we were looking at it, because we were
That's
all
what
sitting
brothers
there.
are for, though.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, he's had a
Got
lot
my
more
deer.
experience than me. Yeah.
Got that deer and
Yeah,
like it.
hold the legs, hold the tarsal for me.
is he older?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a year and a half older. But as we're sitting there, we're looking at these entry wounds.
That's what I wanted to dissect a little because
Yeah.
it was really weird.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the entry wound, and it's like that's exactly where I aimed. There's no way that this entry wound, especially from
With the angle of
the
attack.
angle,
Yeah.
there's
You hit
no
him-
way that this should be doing.
You hit him right behind the shoulder,
Yep.
right where you wanted to,
Yep.
slightly quartering away.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your
arrow-
outsert essentially broke loose of the arrow,
Yeah.
and the bigger expandable broadhead you were using
Yeah.
rode the rib cage up
And smacked him
and
right in the back of
smacked
the
into
spine.
his spine
Yeah.
and paralyzed him.
Yep, it's exactly what happened. And you can actually hear it in the video. You hear like a thunk, and it literally, yeah. So the arrow actually
Like
was,
so it like stopped and went.
yeah.
Correct. So like arrows coming down, hits the rib cage, outsert
Insert
breaks
breaks,
loose.
yeah.
This is like a parachute or a sail, and it just goes floop, and that lodged up in the spine. He found it.
He went down.
Yeah, honestly, I got blessed big time that's where it went because it very easily could have planed and just exited the top of the back.
Could have done it. He could have done anything. Trav.
So I got blessed big time. Both of those arrows, actually, the outserts broke off on impact. So it was like
It's like an issue with your arrows.
I think it was a bad batch.
Bad
it was
batch.
just a bad batch of epoxy, which is no big, but it was like, oh goodness, like thank the Lord that this happened. And it also made me feel a lot
So
better.
even the one you shot right into the heart did the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Broke off.
Yeah, it broke off on the other side actually. So we
Holy
found it on the
smokes.
back end laying under him.
That ain't good.
Right. Huh. So we're getting that fixed, but like the point being that it gave me a heck of a lot of confidence going, oh, thank goodness. Because I did. There was like the twinge of, you shoot and his back legs literally fold up and he falls. And I was like, crap, like this is good thing is he's not going anywhere. I'm going to kill this deer. But it was also like, oh man, that's not the shot that I want.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
This is the second video this year that we have chosen to blur the footage of the follow-up shot. But at Painted Arrow, Devin, Trav, we've all kind of agreed, like, as executive decision, we think it's very important to show the footage as it happened to the extent that it's not going to
Be offensive.
be a detriment to the hunting industry. And what I mean by that is there's a target on the industry's back for any type of animal cruelty at any level.
Yep.
And we want to do justice by the animal and by the industry. And for those reasons, we've decided to blur rather than just omit entirely. We've decided to show it.
Yeah,
But-
because this is what happened. This is how it happened.
It's very important. It's very important to me that we show exactly what happened. And
Yeah.
if you watch a lot of hunting footage,
The skip.
the big names, they just say had to put a follow up in them, and they
Yep,
just kind
and
of
clip
roll
to the
over
grip
it,
and
and
grind.
it was like that you didn't even really like you have no idea. But it's very important to me that we show what actually happened because that is hunting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So whether we blur it and leave the audio or whatever, like this is the second time this year where we release videos that have had this like extremely intense, really
Intimate.
tight,
Yeah.
intimate, gory, all the adjectives that you'd want to describe it by. And we show it, but we blur it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that, like, if you go and watch the video, like, there's a point where you went up to this animal on the follow-up shot, and this, like you said, his half of his body was completely dead.
Yep.
And his front, he was like trying to crawl away, and he looks right into
very
you.
alert, looking at you
me.
like
what are you doing?
It was
Yeah,
bizarre. It was bizarre.
It
was a
was,
bizarre
yeah.
moment.
It's like one of those things that kind of like a train wreck. Like you really hate to see it, but you can't look away. And
Yeah.
it's like, we have to show it and we have to include it as what happened.
It's
But
very,
again,
very
like,
important.
respect for the animal, respect for the viewer, and respect for the hunting industry. Like we don't want to paint a negative light and give fuel to people who have,
An agenda.
an agenda.
Yeah.
However, to your other point, like when certain people don't show exactly how it happens and you clip to the grip and grin, I don't like that either. Like
Yeah.
hunting, like in
Feels
hunting and in
unrealistic,
pursuit of an
yeah.
animal with a bow, like stuff happens.
Yeah.
Because it's
Most
freaking
things
difficult.
don't go the way you plan.
Because it's difficult. Like you
It's
said at the
super
beginning, you're
difficult.
literally throwing a pointy stick at an animal from like 30 yards out and an elevated 30 yards
Yeah.
out. Like it's not, yeah.
So I think that was important to mention.
Yeah, agreed. And it was something where, like I said, it did my heart good to know that, okay, it was an equipment failure. I did an ethical shot. And so that was like even just going forward, it was like, okay, you can do this, man. And so, I mean, the rest of the story is quick. I mean, I had everyone out there with me. I drug that sucker across the swamp, put it onto a tractor. We brought it back in. This tractor's got a big old brush hog on the back. I hop on the back with my cousin. We're driving through the woods, and as we come up the final hill to the house, all the aunts and the cousins, the rest of the cousins that hadn't come out, are all standing outside, literally clapping.
So how many people are there? It's like a family reunion. Like, there's like 20 some people there.
There's at least 20 people there, and they're all. I was like,
You're like a god.
I was like, what? I said, what an experience! Like,
Yeah.
it was awesome. And then like,
What'd your kid think of it?
dude, he was like,
Was that his first like intimate experience with a dead deer?
no, he's been out for his papa's, a couple of his recoveries, and then my brother's recoveries as well. So he's been out there. He hasn't he gets so excited. He was like, Dad, he like gives me a high five. I mean, he's for the audience, he's like
I
6.
saw in the video, you said, Daddy got one or Daddy got it done. He goes, yeah, I heard that happened. Or he's like, I heard that was the case. Or he said,
and then as the cousins come in after him, he goes, we got it. We got it. I was like, dude, I love this kid. I've already taken him out hunting once this year too. Like I said, 6 years old. He's all about it. And it was just, man, once again, like we talked about at the beginning, the community aspect of this is wild. And if you're not in it, you have no idea.
I think hunting media in general, obviously focuses a lot on the kill because that's what gets the attention.
Yeah.
But long form media content, I think, has always leaned in the direction of let's show the entire backstory and how hard we worked for this deer and all of the prep and the food plots and the history.
Yeah.
And all that is super interesting. I love that we've chosen to focus on what happens after the arrow is released.
Yeah.
Because to me, like that camaraderie and the friendship and the family and your boys' excitement and that is all like that is the infectious thing that probably got you back into hunting.
100%. Yeah, it's your, if you want to look at it from like a purely analytical side, like that's your recruiting tool for new hunters. And we talked about
100%
earlier, even in the state of Michigan, like the hunting numbers are declining. Like this is why, because I think that the public perception outside of like the hunters, our small group of people, the public's perception leans heavier towards the animal cruelty side, towards these people are just killing because they want to, like they find it fun to kill.
Trophy hunter.
Look, they're getting these bucks because it's like, no, you've got a whole community aspect on the backside, but then also like the fact that within the week after I shot this deer, I had a freezer full of venison, and I've been using it for the past.
You guys were eating backstraps 40 minutes after he
literally, we pulled them off and we fried them up. And
explain how you did it. So this is something I've never heard.
You've never? Okay, so this is actually a Caleb Smith thing. So if
I've never heard this either. I still haven't even heard what it is, but I watched the video and I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Dude, okay, so Caleb and Zach Smith, the brothers, Caleb's been on our podcast. He shot the big 17 point.
The big 17 point.
The big 17 point.
The 30 point box.
Yeah, the triple drop time, I think is what we ended up calling it. But
sweet biscuits.
Dude, so they've been doing this for as long as Caleb's been hunting, which has been since basically he was able to pick up a weapon. You fry up the backstrap in just straight up in butter, and then you dip this backstrap into sour cream and then into soy sauce. And it was fire. It was so good.
I thought that's what I saw, but I'm like...
You're like, nah, it can't be.
Well, it was just like everybody was so endorsing it and like all real sure about it, and I'm like
a keg
is this a
stand.
common thing that I missed? Do it. But everybody was real into it, and I'm like, there's nobody else in this video that has never seen this before.
No, because that's
wow.
It started off into.
I've never tried that.
They went for the family. Well, I mean, you're also not a sauce guy. I don't know if you'd like it, but
I'm not. I'm a little saucy. I'm not.
You are a little saucy, but you're not a sauce guy.
I mean, I would try it.
No, it's really good.
So, I can't remember if I got a phone call or not. If I was as lucky as Dev, but I did I remember getting a photo when you shot the deer.
Oh, I definitely called you.
Did you?
Yeah.
You didn't answer. Because he called me and said, I just tried to call Nate, but he didn't answer.
So hold on. Let me finish my thought. So
just saying.
I was
Way to throw
playing
my
on
guy
the
like that.
playground with my mom and dad and my boy. Mm-hmm. And my brother, I believe, is there.
You were pushing Jeff on the swings?
Yeah. we were at the playground, and I got some type of communication came through, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Trav just killed.
Yeah, I sent out a group message with it. Yeah.
And you sent the footage on the Mag Pro.
Uh-huh.
Oh, because I said, did you film it?
Yeah.
And you said, yeah, I've got footage. I said, send the footage immediately and send photos.
Yeah.
That was right after I got off the phone with you.
So me and my dad and my brother, my community, the guys that know, they know you, they know the brand, they know everything about everything. And I'm like, I think Trav just killed a buck. His first buck ever with a bow on the Mag Pro. And I remember sitting there and we all were standing in the parking lot and we were watching this footage and I'm just like, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, his first buck with the bow. Like, I wish I had that on film.
On film, yeah. How special is that? That was multiple people in my family said the same
And
thing.
my dad and my brother.
I never thought about that.
My dad and my brother specifically pointed that out. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And I remember like, I called you and I couldn't have been more excited
You
for
were
you.
you said, Trav, Trav, what'd you do? I was like, I killed
No,
Nate.
but like, I mean, if you're listening to this, you have to go and watch this video on our YouTube page.
So wholesome.
I truly like when you sent the first, revision. Hey, get the approval on this. Take a look at it. See if you like it. What your feedback is. I remember going to look at it, and I am not kidding you. Like I couldn't stop smiling. my cheeks hurt so much because I didn't, for a number of reasons. Like I didn't know that you had gotten a lot of that footage because I hadn't seen.
Yeah. I hadn't showed
seen
you guys
the
any of
misses.
that. Yeah.
You had
yeah.
all the misses on footage, and then we kind of just discussed it, but the recovery aspect,
Yeah, that
the
was special.
family oriented, the post arrow release, the post kill,
That was
like
special.
it couldn't. That video couldn't represent what we are about at Painted Arrow any better. Like it was on brand to a T.
I 100% agree.
It was so much
And it
fun.
made me smile so much, and I can't even explain to you how excited I am for you because I got to see you put in the daily effort. Like you had some ups and downs, the trials, and
It's bow hunting.
and that's the fact that you came out on top and you did it, and your boy was there with you.
Oh, that was the
and that
coolest
you
part.
just like that is so important to me as a father. Like
Yeah.
like just to have your boy see like Buck.
Yeah. Oh,
You're in a
you guys
different
both know
stage.
about that. Yeah.
Your boy's older than ours, but it just I couldn't. I just am elated and excited and happy that it all happened. I just am so pumped.
Even that reel you edited, I didn't know you had like that montage where you were like, like you have all those arrow
yeah.
releases. I
Yeah.
didn't know you've been filming since January.
Dude, yeah, I literally, probably like a month after we got the whole thing set up, I was like, why am I not filming this? Because I'm going to at least try to kill a deer. Let's just document the whole dang thing. And that ended up working out really well.
And like the footage was clean, dude. Like it was nice.
Dude, oh, yeah, that was the other thing.
Great
is that
footage.
For the first 2 deer, I dropped my bow as soon as I shot. And I gotten really mad at myself because I was like, dude, you work for this company and you can't even use the product correctly.
I love that you take it so seriously.
I was mad because then also it completely negates the purpose of using it because like all of a sudden I can't use it for recovery if I have it pointed at the ground, and so it's like this time I'm gonna do this right and be able to look back at it and be like I didn't drop the dang bow. Yes, like it felt like a victory, man.
Go watch this video. Trav exemplifies exactly how it's supposed to be done. Hands down.
Yeah. Period. End of paragraph.
Yeah. Really quickly, because I think we're about to wrap this, but I want to also get on tape or on digital, whatever you'd call this. I want to say also, like, from the bottom of my heart to both of you as men and as bosses and as owners of this company, like, thank you. Because I would not be in this position at all. Like, I don't, there was no plans for me to get back into this. And this has been such a fun journey and such a stretching journey of like you said, the ups and downs. I feel like you guys gave me the gift of being able to do this again. And also even better yet, the gift of belief that I could do it because from the get, you guys have been like, no, we're going to do this, Trav. Like we are going to do this together and you're going to shoot a buck. And like, dude, it cannot be understated. Like, man, for anyone who's listening to this, the people that you hear on these podcasts and that you see on the videos, that's actually Devin and Nate. They are the people that they say they are. They are fantastic human beings and the best bosses a guy could ask for. And they're pretty damn good deer hunters as well. So
That's awesome.
It's gonna
Trav.
make me blush, Trav. I think it's cool that. So to hear you say we were maybe the catalyst that nudged you back into it, but you had a family that was like standing there with open arms, like let's go hunting. Like the fact that maybe we nudged you over the edge, but then you got it done on your grandfather's property with 20 of your family members there to like
Pretty cool.
celebrate with you.
pretty freaking
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, man, what a blessing.
Yep.
What a blessing.
If you're listening and you want to like shoot a deer, get a mentor. That's probably the number one.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Like you said, you just complimented us, but I'm looking at that as like,
Sort of a duty.
yeah. And I guarantee you there's somebody out there that wants to help you get
Oh,
into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning of your journey. This
Yeah.
is just the beginning.
This is
of
year
it.
one.
And it's so infectious, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, no one told me that. As soon as I put down this deer, I was like, the next day I woke up, I was like, when can I go back out?
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
You get so
You're
itchy.
thirsty.
I was like, I don't know that I have freezer space for this.
Yeah.
It's
I gotta buy another chest freezer so I can keep hunting.
Hey, if you're gonna choose an addiction, this ain't a bad one to have.
That's true.
All right, fellas. Great episode. We appreciate you guys for listening along. We will catch you on the next one. See ya.
Peace.
See ya.